Hello everyone, it's Karen McLaughlin here, certified personal trainer in Hamilton, Ontario, here with you for my Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Facebook Live broadcast. And today I'm going to be doing something a little different than I've done for the past couple of weeks. So for those of you who've been joining in, I've been kind of spending a lot of time working on step 3 of my diet cleanup series, which is Eat Your Veggies. And so for the last 2 weeks, I talked about various ways to build habits around eating more of your veggies. Specifically, we talked about avocados and how awesome they are and how to work those into your day. And last week I talked about leafy greens and why and how you should be eating those daily. And I definitely have some more stuff to say about working more veggies in, but I thought it'd be nice to take a little break from that and let you guys work on those first two. So if you're not already rocking the daily avocado and leafy greens, keep working on that, and we'll come back to the veggies probably next week unless I feel inspired to do something else. But for this week, I just wanted to take a break from the diet stuff and talk a little bit about some behavior modification stuff, because you can have all the information in the world, and if you don't do anything with it, it does you no good. So that's why I always, in case you haven't noticed, I try to be very practical about not only giving you the information, but actually how to actually get this stuff into your life consistently, because it doesn't do you any good unless you do that, right? We all know that. So this week, what I want to talk about, and I'm going to try and keep this nice and short again. For those of you who don't have time to watch my longer videos, I know some of them are lengthy. Anyway, this week what I want to talk about is using action to build belief in your ability to change. And you might hear me say that and you might be going, what? That doesn't quite make sense. So hold that thought, and I'm going to come back to it in a second, because this is actually a really powerful way to start creating change in your life. So what happens is, most of the time when I get a new client coming to see me, they have 2 big goals. There's 2 general themes that you're not going to be too surprised what they are. One is they want to eat healthier, and 2 is they want to get in shape. So that's not too surprising that that's what people coming to a personal trainer would like to work on. But the biggest issue is, and why they haven't been, one of the reasons why they have not been able to do it themselves, aside from maybe, they might not know what exercises they should be doing, and in some cases which foods that might be best for them. But one of the biggest barriers is that they don't have a self-concept that's allowing them to change. They don't see themselves as a person who eats healthy, or they don't see themselves as a physically active person. So if you have this self-concept that is totally different from what the goal is that you're trying to achieve, if you think you're a terrible eater and you want to be a healthy eater, there's a huge gap in your self-concept there. If you want to be physically active but you totally don't see yourself as a physically active person, that's a huge gap in what your current self-concept is and where you want to be. So you cannot effectively change your behavior if what you believe about yourself is too far away from what you actually want to achieve, because it doesn't seem possible is really what it gets down to. Whether you can work yourself up into like a motivational frenzy for a short time and actually get yourself believing you could be that person, a lot of us do that, but it doesn't hold. It doesn't stick over the long term, because we have this self-concept that's so different from where we actually want to be. So we're kind of stuck, right? What do we do about this? So one of the popular sort of strategies that's come out in the self-help literature in the past few years that's gotten really popular is using affirmations. And I'm sure you've heard people talking about this before, and you've probably done it, right? So I'm going to say up front, I'm not a huge fan of affirmations. If you're not quite sure what I mean, it would be something like you write these statements about yourself, and you're supposed to read them every day, you know, like, I eat healthy foods every day, or I'm at my goal weight and I'm in fantastic shape. That's what an affirmation is. And so the reason that I'm not a big fan of that is, and I've tried it for myself in different areas, and I didn't like it didn't work. And you know why? Because those affirmations, those statements are just so far away from my current self-concept. These big sort of lofty sounding things, if it's too far away from where I currently am, it's just too big of a gap between my current self-concept and where I am. And when I read it, I don't feel great. I feel like I'm lying to myself. And even if I kind of feel good, I can sort of convince myself to feel good about it initially. What happens is I keep doing it over time and nothing seems to be changing, and then I just feel really discouraged, and I feel that gap even more between where I want to be and where I am, and you just kind of get into this cycle of feeling like powerless and crappy about yourself, and that's not a recipe for creating positive change in your life. So, you know, I know people who are like nuts about affirmations, but personally, I don't find them to be a useful tool. If you love them and they work for you, that's fine. Like, I'm a big fan of doing what works, so if you found something that works for you, keep doing it. But personally for me, I don't think it's helpful, and it's not something I would advise for my clients. So if I'm not going to use affirmations, how am I going to change my self-concept? Well, this totally sounds counterintuitive, but the way you change your self-concept is actually by changing your behavior. And I know that sounds crazy because I just said you can't change your behavior unless you change your self-concept. But the key is to get the two things. Like, the problem before when I started out is that your self-concept and where you want to be is just too far apart. So say thinking you're in great, you know, your goal being getting into great shape, where you know that you're in lousy shape now, and trying to see yourself as a super fit person, there's too big of a gap there between where you are now and where you want to be. So what you need to do is start changing your self-concept by picking very small, doable actions that are going to take you towards where you want to be. And at this point, you're probably going, this sounds kind of like something Karen might have said before, because believe it or not, this is all about building those little daily habits. This is why the very first Facebook Live I ever did is on habits. Everything comes back to this. It's so powerful. And so this is the way you start to change your self-concept, and you can use this for anything, not just your health and fitness goals. I mean, I have my stuff that I'm working on that is difficult for me. You know, I'm pretty much, hopefully, considering what I do, I'm, you know, pretty confident in my health and fitness behaviors, but there's other areas of my life, believe it or not, where I do struggle a bit. So this is a strategy I can use for these other areas, and you can use them if you need to change your fitness or eating behaviors. You can use it for this too. So all we're talking about here is, so you want to be that person who eats healthy, and you know you're so far away from that right now. Pick one tiny behavior that feels doable to you right now. It has to feel doable. So that's why the smaller the better, because it's like, the key is, it's not so much the behavior, it's just that it has to be something you know is heading you in the right direction, and that you stick with it, because that is what starts to change your self-concept. Every time you make a little tiny change and you're able to stick with it, you change your self-concept, and you're getting closer towards that person. Every time you make one little tiny change in your diet towards the better, you're building your self-concept towards being somebody who eats a healthy diet. And you're building your belief in your own ability to change, which is really the biggest thing we can have. Like, if we feel that we're not capable of creating change in our life, of going from where we are now to where we want to be. Like, I don't know what could be worse than that. Like, that's just that feeling of being stuck. Nothing's ever going to get better, right? So what we're doing here is just taking the tiniest little actionable steps, okay? So if your big, huge goal is you want to be eating a lot healthier, pick that one tiny little one. So, you know, just tossing out the ones I talked about for the last couple of weeks was, you know, eating half an avocado every day, or eating a cup of leafy greens every day. You know, those are two very small actions, and it has to be one that you're confident that you know you can do consistently. So, you know, if you've never eaten avocados before and you're not too sure about that, you know, that maybe can be wait until you've built your self-concept a little better and you feel more confident. So pick one that doesn't feel too threatening. So maybe like there's a vegetable that you really like, but you just don't eat it that often because maybe you don't remember to buy it, nobody else in your family likes it, whatever. You're just not in the habit of eating it. So pick something you like and eat it consistently every day. And this is why I'm big into tracking. So whatever your little tiny action is, track it somehow, whether I've mentioned Loop Habit Tracker, which is a free app you can get for your phone. That's a great one, or you can check it off every day, or just the good old fashioned wall calendar, put an X in the box every day, because what you want to do is create that unbroken chain where you can see, I could do that every day. And you know, the odds are at first, like, most people are not 100% consistent right off the bat, but the closer you can get, the better. That's why you want small action. So do not make this lofty and grandiose. It's a small thing. So, you know, if you want to eat healthier, pick that one vegetable that you can eat every day consistently, and make a plan. Like, this is the other part of it that I may have mentioned before. So know when and where you're going to be doing this. So you're going to eat a cup of salad greens with lunch every day, if that works for you. If that one's too intimidating, just pick whatever. But know when you're going to do it and attach it to something you already do. So you probably eat lunch. You probably do eat lunch every day. So then we're attaching the new behavior to something you're already doing. Okay? Just pick something. So if it's physical activity, you know, maybe it's walking for 15 minutes every day, and pick a time. Is it going to be, if you're a morning person, do it before breakfast. God bless you, I'm not a morning person. You know, if it's on your lunch break at work, again, know that's when, you know, write this down. I'm going to walk for 15 minutes every day on my lunch break at work. Like, written and specific and anchored to an activity you're already doing. This is how you're going to get the job done. So, or, you know, another one is like maybe you're going to do 5 squats every time you go to the after you go to the bathroom. That's like another one. Like you have to go to the bathroom, so it's a good cue for doing sort of periodic little movements. I use that one a lot myself. So maybe, you know, every time I use a bathroom, when I'm done, I'm going to come out, I'm going to do 5 squats. That's another way to move more. So it's just, the absolute key here is you have to pick an activity that you believe you can do. And so that's how you start moving your self-concept. Because if I pick, so to use like finances for an example, because this may not be my favorite, you know, this may be something where I may still struggle a little bit myself. So if you said, I'm going to save 30% of my paycheck, starting next paycheck, I'm going to save 30% of every paycheck. I don't know about you, but for me, that's totally unbelievable. Like, most people, or to be even more dramatic, I'm going to save 50% of my paycheck. Every single paycheck, starting now. For most people, that would not be very doable. You could get fired up about it for a little while, thinking, yeah, I'm going to save all this money, and you might be able to pull it off. Maybe, you know, you might be able to pull it off once or twice, but unless you have very low expenses and a very high paycheck, you're probably not going to be able to pull that off for too often. So it's the same thing here. We don't want to, the goal cannot be so large that we can't believe that we're going to do it. Because just like saying I'm going to be you wouldn't say I'm going to be a millionaire at the end of the year if you're just living paycheck to paycheck right now. So it's totally unrealistic. I think we can see it easier with things like money. Somehow we can understand that the reality is that we're probably not going to be able to create that much change that fast. But somehow with health and fitness stuff, sometimes we get convinced that we're going to be able to, like this, change everything. And every once in a while you see things coming up on Facebook about how so-and-so lost some crazy amount of weight in such a short period of time or whatever. And the reality is most of the time when people do achieve that, but usually it doesn't last. Like those shows, like The Biggest Loser and stuff like that, some of those people lose a lot really fast. You know what? It doesn't stick. They gain it back. So, quick change and then quick kind of spring back to where you were. So, in my opinion, it's much better to, and I guess like there's actually, just going on a tangent, but with a show like that, Biggest Loser, like if it happens so fast that you haven't changed your self-concept and you haven't changed your habits, that's why it doesn't stick. So that's why small is better. By taking those little actions, number one, you're saying you're now moving your current behavior closer to that other self-concept that you want, the goal, the big goal. I'm a healthy eater, I'm a physically active person. So every time you create that little change, you're moving your current self-concept more towards that big goal. And also, you're building your ability to believe that you're capable of creating even more changes. So eventually this just snowballs in a positive way because you do 2 or 3 of these small things, and all of a sudden you're like, your self-concept just all of a sudden hits a tipping point and it shifts, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I am a person who eats healthy now, and then you can really move forward a lot quicker. So sometimes people are like, well, Karen, if I keep just taking all these tiny little baby steps, it's going to take me like 10 million years to get all the way to where I want to go. But it's not true, because eventually those little tiny baby steps are going to have a domino effect, and it's just going to create like a cascade of positive change. And so eventually what usually happens is a lot of things will shift a lot quicker at some point, but you have to start out just being really easy on yourself and doing these little tiny things, because otherwise it's too overwhelming and you're too far away from this thing that you want, and you just can't believe that you're going to have it. And that's why I think a lot of people will just keep yo-yoing, and they'll like make change for a little while and then they'll go back to the way things always were. It's the 2 things, is 1, self-concept hasn't changed enough, and 2, you have to get into solid habits, because otherwise your brain just wants to do what it's always done. So picking one little thing and working on it until you've got it nailed, then you don't have to think about that thing anymore. You've got a solid action that you know you can do. And now that you've got that one and you've worked it into your life, you're like, hey, I know how to build new habits. I just did that. So now I can go pick another one and I can do that. And so then you see yourself as someone who's capable of change, and everything just gets so much easier. Okay? So I think I kind of drove that one into the ground by repeating myself a few times, but I just really want you guys to hear this, because it sounds a little stupid, it sounds too simplistic in a way, but this is how we can truly create change that sticks, by actually doing action to shift our beliefs about ourselves. And that's why it has to be small, it has to be daily, you have to keep track of it. But once you have success with it, it's going to shift your self-concept, And even after just one little change, you may start to think, hey, maybe I can actually do this, you know. So maybe now I'm only eating one vegetable a day, but I'm on the road now to being a healthy eater, and I just created this one positive change in my life. So now I can do more. Don't underestimate the power of making these little changes. I think that's my biggest overlying message in all of this stuff is we tend to underestimate the power of the little changes. We want the big, flashy, overnight makeover because that's what we see in the media. But that's not what creates positive, permanent change, okay? So, what is it that you're struggling with that you can't quite believe that you're going to be able to do? You know, is it the activity? Is it some change in your diet? So find that little way in, just one little step towards it. It may feel like you're still going to be a million miles away from the big goal, but just find one little way in, write it down, make a plan, and get going on it. And then let me know what happens, okay? I always like to hear what you guys do with this information that I toss out at you. So if you go and rock a new habit, let me know. I get a little geeked out, I'm sorry, but I just love it when I see people successfully integrating this stuff into their lives, because that's when it actually makes a difference. Not when you listen to me talking about it, but when you actually get out there and do it. Okay? So that is all I have to say for this week. I hope it's helpful, and I would love to hear what you're able to create with it. And just in kind of breaking news, just for those of you who are local, I want to let you know that I'm in the process of putting together an outdoor exercise class for the summer. It's going to be really fun. We're going to do a mobilize and strengthen class, and it's going to be in Churchill Park as long as I get everything sorted out with the city. And it's going to be one weekday, early morning, 7 to 8, but I haven't quite picked which one yet. If you're interested in attending and you have an opinion on which day you think it should be, get in touch with me really soon before I just pick one. Anyway, you can contact me at yourfitnessgroove@gmail.com or just message me here on Facebook, whatever works for you. And it's going to be a really fun time. We're going to do a lot of stuff on getting to know our hips and our shoulders and our hands and our feet and all the body parts that we tend to ignore. They get really unhappy and they affect all of our other body parts. So it's going to be a bit different than I think anything most people have done before, but it's going to be really fun, and hopefully we're going to really get to do it outside if it ever stops raining here. Anyway, I think that's all I have for you guys this week. I hope it was helpful, and as usual, if you got something out of it, I'd appreciate it if you could share it with your friends so that they could get something out of it too. And if you missed any of my previous weeks, everything is now up on my Your Fitness Groove YouTube channel, so you can always go back and find every single one. I think this is like number 22 of the videos I've done. I can't quite believe it. Woo! I stuck with it for 22 consecutive weeks. I've been coming at you with these videos, so I really hope you found them helpful. Okay? Alright, that is it for me. Hope you are enjoying your day, and that maybe wherever you are, it's not raining, but it is raining here again. Okay, take care until next week, guys, and keep moving and keep rocking the habits, okay? Bye for now.